Today we are joined by Tracey Randell, one of the UK's leading nutritional therapists and gut health specialists. We're so excited to have you here with us today. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for the invite.
We're going to jump right into it. Basically, just to start with, how did you end up in the industry? What drew you to it? What's the journey been?
Okay.
In short.
In short.
Yeah.
Well, I'll spare my early years, but basically my journey is not dissimilar to a lot of other practitioners, purely self-interest. So
Yeah.
I found myself at the age of 30-something, feeling somewhat overweight, feeling very uncomfortable. I had irritable bowel syndrome, and in an attempt to lose weight, I had been reading diet books for years, and I was known for it, reading them in the office while, eating my lunch and reading the latest book on something or other. And just purely by happenstance, really came across some details about a nutrition college that had an open day on a Saturday. And I just thought, I thought I already knew quite a bit about nutrition. So I decided to go along and see what it was all about, and got there and was starting to leaf through some of the documentation, some of the lecture notes, that they left around. And I just got really fascinated, just flicking through. And then the principal of the college appeared by my side and said, how can we help you? And I said, I'm kind of interested in this. And she asked me a bit about me, how's your health, and do you take a vitamin? And, so I was chatting away with her, and I said, what would I need to get involved? And she said, well, have you done A-levels? And I said, no, I'd left school doing O-levels. And she said, well, it doesn't matter, you can do a science foundation course and give you a place straight away. And so I just thought I had nothing to lose, really. At the very least, I was just going to learn something that was going to benefit me.
Yeah.
And that was it. And a couple of months later, I rocked up for my first Saturday lecture.
That's awesome. So from the IBS side of things, had that self-diagnosis, had that come from talking to a doctor, or how did that journey? Because that's one of the biggest things that everyone is moving from, which is to go and see your GP about this side of your health.
Yep.
And there are standard ways to that are trained in normal medical practitioners foundations.
Yep.
How was that journey? Because I think that's something that everyone who is interested kind of have a journey like that.
Yeah. I had tummy issues. I'd done a bit of reading. Actually, this is pre the internet, so it wasn't like I was doing Dr. Google really, but I'd done enough reading of the books that I had been looking at. And I went to see the doctor and I said, I think I've got irritable bowel syndrome. And he said, yes, I agree. That was that.
Sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. It feels very uncomfortable lots of the time. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And the thing that I learned then, which my clients are learning all the time now, is that GPs have really limited options in helping people to recover from irritable bowel syndrome, because they basically have a set of medications that they give you to ameliorate or to calm down your symptoms, but you don't actually do anything about getting the underlying causes identified and addressed. So that was my very first experience, is understanding that's what happened to me. And like I said, it's all of that time.
Super common as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 15% of the general population, and it's generally a lot more women than men. So probably 2/3
right?
Female to male. I just think women are better going to the doctor, to be honest. I think men equally suffer, but they'll put up with quite a bit more before they'll go and do something about it.
We talk about this in the office, but a lot of the time is when we talk about bloating, and but I think there is, whether it's connected to hormonal cycle or whether it's because of there just are genetic differences between men and women and the way they digest food, but it is incredibly different in terms of the number of my male friends versus female friends versus male guys in the office, girls in the office that would not, bloating doesn't seem to be a major issue for guys and is so commonly spoken about in women. So presumably that's part of that.
It's totally true. My own observation is that quite a lot of guys don't mind a bit of farting,
right,
to be honest.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
You are definitely allowed to say that.
But for women, that's a big deal, because for women, our clothes are less forgiving.
Sure.
A bit of bloat and you feel like you can't go out.
Yeah,
or
totally.
you've got to wear something with an elasticated waist and you don't really want to do that. So I think maybe that's one of the reasons why women are very kind of tuned into themselves, because they're going to wear closer fitting clothes, and like I said,
therefore it's more uncomfortable, more
they
noticeable.
Don't mind, they mind the side effects more than men do.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so what gets you out of bed in the morning, like motivationally? I don't mean an alarm clock.
Well, an alarm
Or a
clock
dog,
helps, actually.
or-
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. What gets me out of bed every day is I genuinely love the job that I do. So, I think someone once said that if you do a job that you love, then you never work a day in your life, and that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
So it's a job that just keeps on giving, from the point of view of I get an adrenaline rush every day, learning something new, being able to help someone, identifying a new problem, getting good at identifying an issue that I can help with.
And in terms of, so that is seeing clients essentially, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
seeing and talking to video calls, in person, a mixture, like tell me about a week, what's going on?
Yeah, so prior to the whole lockdown scenario, my business was about 50-50.
Yeah.
It was 50% kind of Skypes in those days, and 50%
Just quite
in person.
quite cool, quite a lot already to be at that
Yes.
stage actually, now that we think about it.
Well, I very much have clients all over the UK and international as well. So I kind of got very used to Skype very early on. And then thankfully, with the whole lockdown situation, it meant I had to close down my physical clinic, meeting people in person, but I was already revved up and ready to go, and actually just swapped from Skype into Zoom, because Zoom was so easy for everybody. And now I'm having difficulty getting back in person. Because people just, it's easier to be from home, and you can pick up kids from school, or you can do whatever it is you have to do. That's a good thing, though. It means more people can reach more people. It gives huge flexibility, but it's a very different medium working over Zoom. I find what I try and do is organise my week so that I'll have a couple of clinic days where I will do Zooms every hour and 15 minutes. So that's kind of 5 or 6 in a day. And I find at the end of the day, I'm exhausted.
Totally.
Because Zoom takes from you.
You're not pulling that energy. As you said, you get that adrenaline when you have, it's kind of those goosebump moments where someone's suddenly engaging and you can hear that they're doing well, or you're feeling that response in anything like that.
Exactly.
And then you get the emotional back, but actually you're right, it's just one way when it's the other way.
And when I see people in real life, I come out and I'm buzzed.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you absorb the energy from them. And often you have little breakthroughs when you see people in real life. It's the throwaway line as they're going out the door, or something you notice as you're walking them into the clinic space. That makes all the difference. That makes the connection, and you suddenly go, I've got this, I've got you. I think I can understand what's happening here.
Yeah.
So that's what I miss, and I'm hoping that as time goes on, we'll see a bit more of that, people coming back. And people are, a lot of my London-based clients are like, oh, you're in London now, aren't you? I'm going to come next time. I'm going to come and see you in real life.
Totally.
Which is really good.
Energizing in both directions, for sure. So what's exciting? What's going on in the industry? What are you seeing? I mean, apart from the fact that the whole world is now talking gut health, right? Which is awesome. And you were a long way ahead of that pre-internet, which none of this lot will have any idea of that world.
Life before the internet.
We both have lived that reality. So what are you seeing both in clients? What's changing? What's happening?
There is just a huge glut of new scientific data that is coming out all around the Gut Project. You've probably heard of Tim Spector.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and all the work that he's done with the Gut Project and Map My Guts and everything here. So he has really been a trailblazer for the industry. Then equally, there have been great strides in a lot of the clinical testing that we're able to offer now. So we do these very funky DNA-based stool tests where we can tell a lot about someone's microbiome. So we can tell the levels of their beneficial flora, so the good guys that are supposed to be in the gut, as well as the pathogens, the guys that you don't want there. And we can test for all kinds of other markers as well. We have some very specialist kind of inflammation markers. We can look at digestive capabilities. We can really understand the person from the testing, which is really very exciting. And I personally love the second appointment with a patient where we're going through test results, because for me it's like having big pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. that I'm putting together in front of the person, and it's really very exciting, and you kind of put it all together and it's almost like a ta-da moment, and it's like, right, here's what's going on with you, here's what we're going to do about it. And everything that I do with my clients is about making dietary modifications. I'm working with food predominantly, and then I may have some food-based supplements, or I may have some probiotics, or sometimes some herbal antimicrobials rather than antibiotics. So they're not my thing, they're more doctors. But we can use all of these things collectively to make some very important changes in the gut microbiome to restore someone's health.
And that is to sort of upscale the right things and downscale, suppress the wrong things, which
Absolutely.
can happen because you're having too much sugar, or all the things that we're not. I drink quite a lot of beer. That's probably not good.
Beer does it, stress does it.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, modern life does it.
So in terms of that, the genetic side mapped then kind of like corresponded with what's going on with a person. So myself, for example, is it the idea that you can then look at that and say, okay, because this is your genetic makeup in terms of this is what it should look like, or broadly this is what it currently looks like, and so you're sort of balancing against that?
Some of that is true.
Forgive, by the way, incredibly broad brushstroke.
Yeah, so what I can tell by running someone's genetic reports is a gene report is like a blueprint of what makes you you. So it's, in effect, a worst case scenario. It's what your genes could do if they were to fully express themselves. But what determines whether genes express, whether they turn on or turn off, is diet and lifestyle, which is in your domain. So let's say, for example, a recent example I've had is histamine intolerance. So I have someone that is full of histamine, very, very reactive, very rashy, itchy, terrible gut problems, and we could tell by the genetic testing that this person had some genetic mutations, which mean that when they create histamine in their bodies, they're not able to get rid of it very effectively. So they've got some clear pathways where we call them SNPs, they've got genetic mutations which basically stop them clearing the histamine out.
Wow.
So if I have their genetic data, I know how to support those pathways, and those pathways run on things like B vitamins and zinc, and also a substance called diamine oxidase, which is an enzyme that breaks down histamine. So if I know that someone is genetically mutated on that gene, I can give them a supplement of diamine oxidase, and I can also say, please don't drink coffee because that's going to take your gene out of play,
right.
So make it less effective. And then with the stool testing that I do, I can look to see if there are any bugs in the gut that are making lots of histamine as well.
Wow.
So what we can do is either crowd them out with putting some probiotics in, or we can do some selective weeding using some antimicrobials to discourage the growth of those bugs and hopefully generate and recalibrate a more friendly gut flora so that the histamine reactions calm down, they abate. So, and that's what's so exciting at using these types of reports together.
It's massive. I mean, just being able, like genetics in terms of genome mapping and testing has just moved so far in like 20, 25 years. It's amazing. Yeah. Presumably all of this, there is a lot of cultural legacy stuff in diet, like Ayurvedic medicine and all these things that ultimately were addressing some of these problems that you're now being able to very specifically look at and target when it comes to diet. So there are these, whether ginger or whatever these things are that are antimicrobial or whatever. But what's amazing now is that you can now be also monitoring the outcomes of these pathways and results that you're looking for in people.
Yeah, exactly right. The beauty of the genetic testing that I do is every pathway that they report on is a pathway that you can intervene using food, and using herbs and using ginger and making sure someone's got enough copper or enough vitamin C, or they've got all the B vitamins in the right places at the right levels.
It's so pleasing.
Yeah, it's so exciting. Food is medicine.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, we always talk about that. I mean, we talk about it here, and it's no fault of. I mean, doctors are amazing and doing all the right things, but it's just not been the way that medicine's ever been taught. For whatever reason, whether you can go into like the dark arts of pharmaceutical industry or whatever it is, but like it's just not the way it's evolved because there's a kind of try and fix and cure today's symptoms opposed to long term. So it's unbelievable. I can tell everyone behind there is like mind blowing, and now going to drag you out of here afterwards to have their own chat about it, which
happy
I'm sure.
Happy to, yeah, absolutely.
And you're obviously very proud of lots of things in your career, particular moments for you that have, you know, made you feel, get the goosebumps, get that, all those adrenaline feels.
I think for me, and this sounds very trite, and you'll probably expect me to say something like this, but I'm proudest of the times when I've been responsible or been collaborating with a client, and together we have achieved a notable improvement in their health.
Sure, that's what you're in it for.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's how I get my kicks.
Yeah,
if I'm honest, that's all I'm interested in, is making someone feel better. And a recent example of that is a young lady I've been working with who has fibromyalgia. So fibromyalgia is a terrible illness whereby basically your muscle tissues become chronically inflamed, and you can have a fibro attack that will put you in bed for a couple of weeks.
Just causes pain basically everywhere,
right? Just shocking pain.
I have a friend who has this, so again, noted.
Absolutely. And it's associated with fatigue, and they don't sleep very well, and there's a whole knock-on of other horrible associated issues. And so this particular person also had a lot of the histamine issues going on, and she had very poor gut health. And we use some of the specialist testing that I've just been describing to you to identify her biochemical imbalances, and over time we worked on them together. And I say we work on them together, it's kind of my job to act like a guide and a signpost, but I'm only as good as the person that is prepared to take my recommendations. Advice. And I'm really lucky with this particular lady because she is fabulous at following through on recommendations. Yeah. And so the upshot was that 6 months ago she ran a marathon.
Amazing.
Yeah. And which I just...
life-changing.
Yeah,
for
absolutely astonishing. And I'm someone that regularly will do a 5 and a 10K, and I'm just thinking, she did 26.2 miles, and she's someone that when I first started working with her, she was lying prone in bed a lot of the time because she was racked with pain.
And is fibromyalgia, I mean, all of this stuff like kind of links to autoimmune like processes and...
Yeah, with fibromyalgia, we're not entirely sure whether to call it autoimmune or not. It certainly feels like the body's attacking itself.
Yeah.
But it's...
Or is it just a response that's kind of, so
it's a very much a multifaceted illness with lots of other aspects associated with it. And a lot of fibro patients actually have a condition called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, underpinning it, which is the lady I've just been describing had exactly that going on, which was triggering a lot of histamine and causing a lot of other issues and causing crazy inflammation, which was giving her the pain. So
it's so weird because it must have traditionally started with going, okay, the muscles, there's a problem here, let's look at this. And then actually, once you trace this all the way back, and this is becoming more and more true of everything, right? In terms of gut, it's all coming back to gut health, gut microbiome, and what's going on there, whether it's dementia or anything else, which is, again, you were prescient on all of this. It must be so exciting to know how many more things there are that you can help people with. Yeah. And that the people are adopting and understanding and learning. It's amazing. What does a day look like for you?
Right. So a day, if I've got a clinic day from home, will be kind of an early start and a dog walk and breakfast. My husband also works from home, so we have 2 offices at home.
Nice.
Which means we get breakfast together and lunch.
One's tough.
We tried that at the start of lockdown. That was a disaster. I can't tell you. So So we breakfast together, we walk the dog, and then he goes off to his office, I go off to mine and close the door. Yeah. And then I will do Zoom consultations every hour with a 15-minute gap in between.
You're tiring, as you said.
Yes, it is pretty exhausting. But I just keep on trying to restructure my day. You know, do I have days where I have 2 patients and then I do their follow-ups in the afternoon? And it's very challenging because quite a lot of the work that I do, I want to sit and think through a plan, put some look at some research, do some analysis. So if I'm lucky, a follow-up will take me an hour. But if I'm unlucky or lucky, depending on how you look at it,
or you go down the rabbit hole, and if
yeah,
you just really go deep on something,
absolutely,
and just you're like, no, there's something more I need to know about this.
Yeah, and very often I find myself fascinated by some aspect of this person's health, or they've got a new health condition, and then I'm downloading a course on it, or I'm doing a podcast on it, or I'm just trying to basically backfill my knowledge to know how to make some recommendations to this person.
Well, some of it also is just seeing, as you said in a podcast, where there might be a specific case that's been similar, and therefore trying to like see the comparatives. How do you like weed through, for everyone out there who's like looking up MD online or whatever and just scaring themselves to death while it's 2 a.m. because they've got a stomach ache? Like, what's advice in terms of sources of truth online? Because I think that's a huge minefield for people to like self-diagnose things and have no idea. Well, so one is come see you.
Exactly, of course. The sources I go to are, I follow any of the faculty of the Institute of Functional Medicine.
Okay. Makes sense.
There are some brilliant brains there, and they are pretty prolific from the point of view of the information that they put out there, both in book form, but also lots of podcasts, those types of things. So there's a whole bunch of those that I follow. I have podcasts that automatically download every week, so there's always something that I should be listening to.
It's cool.
And then there's a whole heap of summits. I don't know if you've come across this, but particularly in the health space, every week that goes by, there's a summit on gut health, or there's one on SIBO, or there's one on energetic medicine, or there's something else and something else. And these summits are often 30, 40 presentations split over 3 or 4 days. So I'll often look over those and think, right, what I'm interested in, because you can't do everything. So you have areas of focus that you think, right, okay, I'm going to really focus in this area.
And there are specialisms upon specialisms, right? And that's, I mean, the same with anything like this. There are rabbit holes you can go down, and there are very specific. So I suppose for you, it's always balancing the very deep points, and then also things that are practical for clients to like, what do I think will have an immediate effect or have a fast effect?
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of anything that I'm going to listen to that I'm going to use the very next clinic. And what really forms my decision about what I'm going to listen to is often the patients that I see.
Right.
When I started out as a nutritionist, I thought I was going to do weight loss. Because that was kind of the thing that I was interested in, wasn't it? But actually that didn't happen that way. I ended up going very much down the gut health arena because that is what ails a lot of people. So that's what they come to see you for. So then you feel like, well, I need to be as good as I possibly can be in this area. So you start learning in this area, then you get really good at it. And the people that you've helped tell the people that they know that have got the same problem, then you're seeing more of them. And then there seems to be this law of attraction that exists, that you get really good at a subject, and then you just attract all of these people with this area, and you become a specialist in that area. And so a lot of my learning is very much informed by exactly that process, where I start to see a number of people with it, and I just think, right, I've really got to get really good at this, and that's what I focus on. That's
amazing. I mean, it's a lot of people's lives change, and only one person to do it, which is why you need to be on the radio, on TV, as you were last year, which we'll come on to. And it's just so amazing, even in a year, how far this has all travelled, like in terms of just the amount of discussions we're having, just even on a night out about gut health. It's, it's so different, and it's exciting that that's all happening. I think it just needs to move quicker in its own way, like in terms of availability of resource. And I suppose the press is part of that, and there are so many places to go and get it. As you said, summits, probably a lot of people aren't even tuning into that. But I think it was not long ago where it was essentially wheat intolerance was about it, like in terms of the idea of like, you should just
everything
cut it
used to be candida as well.
Right. Exactly. Is stress part of your life, your clients' lives? How does that interact? How does that play into what you do in your practice?
Stress is absolutely part of everyone's existence, and I am not immune from that either.
Of course.
When I first started out as a nutritionist, we used to have this box that we used to ask people, what do you do for a living? And based on their answers in the box, we would go, oh yeah, teacher, that's quite stressful. Yeah, exactly.
That's a 6.
Yeah, exactly. Now I don't even bother. I kind of obviously ask people what they do for a living to kind of gauge, much about their lifestyle, how much time they've got to spend to prepare food, that kind of thing. But now I just take it as read that everybody has got a level of stress in their lives, and that we're all living in this kind of quite hypervigilant state a lot of the time. So it's all important now to look at things like, we look at individual on a 360-degree basis. How well are you sleeping? Are you emotionally supported? You look at things like, how do you exercise? Even looking into kind of beliefs and spirituality, whatever it takes, whatever makes you more comfortable, makes you feel more grounded, helps to level you as a person is important.
Yeah.
So I have those discussions with everybody.
Well, and I think that's becoming part of it, which is the interconnectivity of all of these things, right? Your cortisol levels, adrenaline levels because of stress will be doing things to your gut biome and every other part of your being, which then will feed back into you being more stressed or vice versa. And so you can't really do them in isolation. There needs to be that holistic approach, which I've always thought it's strange that doctors, when you walk in, and again, it's just not part of the way it's done, is the first thing should be diet. Second thing, probably sleep. Third thing should be stress, lifestyle, all those things. But there just isn't time in the process to achieve that. So some of, and also placebo is 20% of life, as in that, which is proven. And that's just the point of the mental impact of knowing you're getting help and feeling positive, then has all these internal physiological impacts that just improve one's health. So there's a million reasons why it's all...
Totally. You talk about placebo, but isn't it just being listened to?
Sure. I
mean, sometimes, I've had client sessions where I've spent an hour with someone and I don't have very many action points as a result of it. And I'm thinking, oh gosh, was that session a bit light? And then I think, well, no, this person was actually telling me everything that was going on with them. And we came up with an action plan, which wasn't as intensive as quite a lot of my action plans can be, but they went away with a smile on their face and I could feel their relief.
Yeah.
And then you realise that actually it's as much about human to human interaction and the person being heard out, being validated, being told you're not imagining it, this is definitely a thing, we can sort this out, this is what we're going to do. So I don't think there's anything placebo about that.
No, for sure. What books are you reading? Books are you reading at the moment?
I'm reading The Great Plant-Based Con at the moment.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Okay, so the reason for it is, obviously, it's looking at this kind of almost cultish situation with veganism at the moment.
Yeah.
So let me tell you where I'm at as a nutritionist. Okay, so I'm not a vegan.
Sure.
What do I like about a vegan diet? I like the vegan diet because I like people to eat lots of plants.
Yeah.
And I think we could all benefit from eating more vegetables and maybe a bit more fruit. Okay. But there definitely is this kind of this cult that goes alongside being vegan, where it's thought that it's superior to all other diets. Now, what I know from looking at genetics is that there's no one size fits all when it comes to diet.
Yeah.
We all are like old motor cars in the fact that we have a different fuel mix that works for us versus somebody else.
Nice.
So some people do very well on a heavy plant-based diet. Other people do much better on a carnivore type diet, where they're eating a lot more kind of heavy proteins and heavy fats, that kind of thing. And the reason for reading this book is that what I'm seeing in my patients that are coming to my door now is I'm seeing people that have crossed over to be vegan, and then their gut health is not holding up. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm seeing people that have been vegan for a couple of years and they've got bellies that come right out like this, and it's a disconnect, right? They're coming to me and they're going, I'm on this super healthy diet, but it's not suiting me. What's going on? And what's going on is that they've got this dysfunctional gut flora, and everything's being exacerbated by the fact that they're eating so much fibre that they were not used to eating, and they just don't have the balance of friendly flora to be able to help them. But what I'm also seeing is I'm seeing nutritional deficiencies in these people. So when people go vegan, very often a lot of people on going vegan are then eating a much better diet than their rubbishy diet that they were having first of all. So they were on a junk food diet and they swap over to being vegan. They're eating more plants. So initially they feel quite a bit better.
Yeah.
But what can happen with veganism is that the longer you're on the vegan diet, then you start to see nutritional deficiencies kind of kick in. Like
vitamin
B12 after about 5 years, your B12 that is stored in your liver gets depleted. You then become deficient also in vitamin A, vitamin D. you then have, you might have a few years of having a reduced protein diet as well.
Yeah.
And then people start to feel that,
you
know, and that's what I'm seeing time and again. So I wanted to read the book to get as rounded a picture as possible.
It's next on my list, by the way.
Oh,
necessarily.
okay, yeah. And it's pretty interesting because the author actually speaks to a lot of the people that I listen to podcasts from.
Yeah.
And actually a lot of UK-based nutritionists are quoted in there as well, talking about their experiences, looking at, you know, whether the vegan diet is suitable for children, for pregnant and nursing mothers, or whether there are certain age groups of people that have to be a bit careful. And then if you want to do it, that's fine, but how do you do it in a really good way?
The right way, and make sure you're getting everything balanced.
And how much effort really do you have to put in to have a really good go at it?
Yeah.
You know, so that's the book that I'm reading at the moment.
Nice.
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of backfill some extra knowledge.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of this is also the stories of, as it is with lots of people, is people who've gone in one direction and then found, as you said, great results, and then suddenly it's all gone in another direction. And again, it's a bit balance is the thing, but also without testing, without knowing, that's the big, it sounds like the toolbox that exists today in terms of what is available, which I don't think anyone, I mean, most people listening, reading would not necessarily know about genetic mapping and how that correlates to your gut fauna, like, you know, histamine levels, all of this stuff is all sounds like, well, they would think, okay, this must be doctors, right?
Yes,
and it's just this new entire area, which is life-changing. That's awesome. Right, that's on the list for sure. Kind of light, quick-fire questions. So coffee or tea?
Tea all day long.
Regular tea, like milk and tea, builder's tea, me too. Juice or smoothie?
Smoothie.
Okay. Any direction on it? Any like favourite ingredients?
Must have a protein component to it.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's lots of sugar.
For sure. So wait, okay, give me a recipe off the top of your head.
So a typical recipe for me would be a couple of scoops of a protein powder.
Sure.
A plant-based milk. So at the moment, I'm on tiger nut milk is my...
Niche.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, okay.
I'm proud of that one, actually. A spoonful or two of some nut butter.
Yeah.
Some frozen berries.
Low in sugar, right? Berries are low in sugar, but you get lots of flavour.
Absolutely. Normally a couple of blocks of frozen spinach.
Okay.
Frozen avocado, because they do it frozen these days.
You can buy it blocked, cubed, right? In bags. Yeah. That's awesome.
Absolutely. And then often something like a chia seed. And then I'm going through phases of green and red powders, you know, so a green or a red powder, depending on how I'm feeling. And sometimes there might be a bit of chocolate that goes in there, like cacao powder as well.
Nice.
And then blend with lots of ice, and it's delish.
Good. And very filling, and like on with the day.
Yes.
I love that. Music or movies?
Music, I would say. Just because of how it makes you feel, you know, how mood is so evocative with different types of music.
Morning gym, evening gym, any
morning gym. Otherwise, I talk my way out of it.
I have to lay my stuff out the night before. It makes doing it so much easier.
Absolutely.
The thought of then having, I don't know why that is so basic for me, but otherwise going and getting all the stuff together is enough to go, nah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why at the end of the day, there's a number of reasons, like, well, I've just washed my hair, I don't want to have to do it again. I don't feel like I want to get changed. You know,
hungry.
All of those things.
Already
too hungry, I need to cook dinner.
Exactly. Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Okay, nice. Sauna or steam, or neither, or both?
I'm a sauna person, actually. Yeah.
Me too. I find, I don't know, the steam is, there's something a bit...
It's weird.
I agree.
Yeah.
Sauna, you walk, it's just like, whereas, I don't know, there's something a bit claggy about the steam room with other humans in it. Number one piece of advice that you might give to a reader to help them feel their best? Very hard, I'm aware, because there's a lot of science behind this. So it might be have a consultation, genuinely. Oh,
well, I would say have a consultation. You never know what you might get out of a nutritional therapy session, definitely. If nothing else, a review of your existing diet.
Okay.
You know, we're very much trained as nutritionists to go over someone's existing diet and just go, this is great, these are the things I like about it, these are things I think you could do better.
Okay.
You know, and so what I would say to people about making change would be not to try to do too much too quickly.
Yeah.
So it's the little changes that you can make quite easily and then maintain consistently that are going to give you the greater health benefits over time. So, so there's no point in picking up a newspaper with a diet in it and just going, right, Monday, that's me, I'm going to do the whole thing.
Forever.
You'll fail. By Tuesday afternoon, you feel like a failure, you're despondent, you're miserable.
Yeah.
But if you took the same diet and you go, okay, looks like a good place to start, I'm just going to change my breakfast for the first week.
Nice.
And you do that and you put a smoothie in place, or you say, oh, actually, I only have the same breakfast every single day, so I'm going to find myself 2 other recipes and I'm going to alternate those and make no other changes. Then that's enormous in the grand scheme of things.
And do you think, I suppose there are lots of different things that people might be suffering from, but one of the indicators, as you said, is like just discomfort from a gut perspective. But then there's also energy levels, sleep, all of the rest of the things play in. So if I'm sitting at home, I've got access to the internet, how do I find someone that I should speak to? What's the way to filter that down to someone that is the right person, as it were?
I think you'd be best to go to sort of like a governing body like a BANT, or there are various registers of nutritional therapists or other functional medicine practitioners.
Yeah.
And you can just screen in your local area. You can put your postcode in and see, who's in your area that's doing what you think is wrong with you.
Right.
And then, most of us do what we call discovery calls, free 15-minute chats.
Yeah.
Just to say, I've got a bit of an upset tummy, I've got this going on, that going on. Is that what you do? And you go, oh, yes, here's what I would do. And these are the types of tests that I might think about recommending to you. This might be the type of diet. I always make a point on those discovery calls of making it really clear that there is no silver bullet. Don't come to me thinking I'm going to give you oregano oil in place of what the doctor is going to give you as an antibiotic.
Right.
Because it's not that simple.
Yeah.
So don't engage with a nutritionist and then wonder why she asks you to change what you're eating.
Oh, well, then not change and then expect a result.
Exactly right.
Well, we need to put links to those things into the article online. Overall, best way to approach food and diet in general, if you had to give a summary.
In simple terms, diversity is key. Okay, so the more diverse your diet, the more diverse your gut flora.
Okay.
And the reason that diversity is so important in gut flora is that every different type of bug that is beneficial, that lives in you, plays a different role. So, and the bugs in our gut do things like make vitamins, they make natural antibiotics for us, they play a part in weight regulation, they are anti-inflammatory. In fact, what we're starting to realise is that the human being outsources a lot of body functions to gut flora.
So symbiotic
all the more,
existence.
Absolutely. So all the more reason to make sure that the bugs in the gut are our friends.
Yeah.
And that you've got the right level of them and you've got enough of them and they're diverse enough. And like I said, making sure that your diet is diverse will go a long way to make sure that happens for you.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We are so happy to have you on board.
Oh, pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
Incredible. I know there are many hours worth of more conversations that we can have, but this is the beginning of a long journey for us, and we're very, very happy to have you on board. So,
well, thank you.
See you.
Thanks for some great questions.
Yeah, lovely.